Hi, this is Christine at Ziedman Development, and today I'd like to give you an idea of what is possible when you work with Classy and Importacular. So this won't be a full step-by-step tutorial of every option available to you. I would definitely encourage you to check out our Getting Started playlist that has much more detailed information about building your first template and the areas that are available to you. But I do want to show you a bit of what it looks like when you're working with Classy specifically. So let's go ahead and click on our Classy icon and click on Start, and that's going to pull up our Classy Data Source Criteria section here. So you've got two different options when you first open Classy. You can work with donations or you can work with campaign registrations. When you're working with donations, you can choose either successful or failed donations, and then you can choose to work with all donations, one-time donations, or recurring donations. So depending on how you want to pull this data, how you want it coded, if you need those things separated, you can absolutely do that. The other thing to point out is that you have the import entries from and the import entries to. So this is going to always default the from to when you last opened Classy and pulled this data. So if you opened this, pulled it, worked with a template, and didn't import, then you may need to manually change that and go back and change it to a time when you know you did your last import. Right now, I'm going to back it up pretty far because I actually want to have some historical sample data to show you. The other thing that you could work with is you could select those campaign registrations, you could select a campaign, and then you can import form entries, campaign creations, and things from those campaigns specific to that time frame. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it okay. We're going to work with the donations for right now, but just so you could see, that's the options that you have available. Once your data is loaded, you're going to see this screen here where you can either select an existing template or you can create a new one using this green circle with the white plus sign in it. I'm going to access one of my existing templates, and we're going to walk through parts of it just so you can see how a bit of how this works and how it looks. So we're going to click on that pencil to edit. So you can see that I have several different tabs here at the top. Each of those tabs does represent an area of Importacular, or what we usually call our data destinations. So the destinations allow you to import to specific parts of Razor's Edge. So many of these do mirror some of the modules within Razor's Edge, such as the memberships or the participants that work with the event module or volunteers, things like that. But some of them are just different areas. So individuals are individual relationships, organizations are organization relationships, solicitor would work with solicitor relationships. So some of them are not optional Razor's Edge modules, but some of them are. All users do have access to the constituent tab, the address tab, and the gift tab. So if you need those other tabs, please let us know, and we're happy to help explain to you how you can purchase access to those areas. So you can see here that we have begun work on our constituent tab. Every import does start there, and every import does start with a constituent mapping. You can see that mine is grayed out, and that's because I do already have a constituent mapping. That's where you always have to start. So let's go ahead and open that constituent mapping so you can get an idea of how those look. So we've got several different columns here, and I just want to explain to you the differences between those columns. First column is going to show us our required fields. Required fields may be set by Blackbaud and are required for everyone working in the Razor's Edge. They may also be things that are required for your organization. So things where your organization has set up a standard saying that you must have this field filled in. The next column are our Razor's Edge field names, and you can see that these are generally alphabetical order, and they're the name that you would see the field labeled in Razor's Edge. So these fields here are primarily coming from Bio 1 and Bio 2, and they should be things that you're pretty familiar with if you've been working in Razor's Edge for any time at all. We've also got our source fields. So what a source field is this is the data that's coming directly out of Classy. So we've got all of the different field options here, and when you select a source field, you're enabling Importacular to add that data to that Razor's Edge field. So you can see we've linked that anonymous field from Classy to the anonymous field in Razor's Edge. We've linked our supporter first name to our first name. We've linked our gender to our gender. So that's how we map that Classy data to a Razor's Edge field. The next column, it gives us the option for a default value. So sometimes there's information that we want to put into Razor's Edge that doesn't exist in Classy. So default value allows us to select that information. So you can see I have added my primary addressee and salutation from the formulas in Razor's Edge so that this data is going to come into Razor's Edge. I'm going to have the formulas that I want to use to maintain my data standards. But those data standards are different from what may already be in Classy. Those formulas don't exist in Classy. So this uses the names that are coming out of Classy and the formula that exists in Razor's Edge to update your addressee and salutation how you need them. You could also use a default value for something else if you wanted to make it true across the board. You can see here I did use a default to say that everyone in my import has requested no email. Hopefully that's not the case, but that is a way that you could use these default values. Just to let you see a couple of other options within our template, we do have a constituent code mapped. So I've got a default value here, and then I do have a date coming out of Classy. And then we do have some work on our address tab. So we've mapped an address, and we've got billing address, billing city. We can work with our country. We can add dates. We can add our info source, all of this different information. And then we have area settings that work with our full address so that we can help avoid adding duplicate addresses. So we can work with backing up an address if there's already an address. And then we can match to addresses already in Razor's Edge and do a lot of different things with that. And then we also have the option here with our email addresses. So we've added our email address, we've mapped that here. And then finally, we've got different information added to our gift. So we have a gift with some attributes. We could also add Notepad. We do have other options here with gifts. Some of them are linked to paid areas such as solicitor and tribute, things like that. But you do have a lot of options with working with our gifts. Once your template is ready, we can save and close. And we come back to the screen where we chose our template. We can work with our control report. So you're just going to tell Importacular where to save that control report. Do recommend that you do a different control report every time. We can work with creating queries so that we can track who we updated and made changes to versus who is new. If you have a large file and you do want to work with just a sample, you can click this box and only process so many records. So let's go ahead and do that so you can just see quickly how this works. And then we would click continue, and that's going to match the data in our file to the data that's in Razor's Edge. That does work using our criteria sets, and if you need more information on that, I will defer you to looking at our documentation on criteria sets. Once we have matched our data, you can see this screen where you have the opportunity to review your data. You can see everything that's coming out of Classy and everything that's going to go into Razor's Edge, where it's been mapped to, if it's linked to a constituent already. So if there's a link between the constituent, we can come down and we can see this Razor's Edge and we can determine if the match is a good match or not. So we can look to see whether or not we want to make that update. We can open our record. We can look at what's in Razor's Edge versus what's in the sample file. We do have the chance here. We can click on the tabs. We can do some really specific reviewing, and we can even make some changes. So if these are text-based fields, we can make changes as we import it. If they are table-based fields, we cannot. But we do have a chance to make some review options here as we go. We can see our gifts, and then we did have an action mapped that we didn't look at, but that's there as well. Once we're done, we can always validate this, make sure there's no errors and exceptions in our file. And after we've done that, we can go ahead and import it, and the data is going to go straight into Razor's Edge. So I hope that you found this helpful. Thanks for joining me today, and our team would love to help you if there's anything we can do for you.